Hey friends, Dan Brzezowski here from allaboutminibikes.com, and today we're going to discuss what is the best mini bike motor that you should use. Check this out, it's going to be fun. Hey friends, how you doing today? Dan Brzezowski from allaboutminibikes.com, and today we're going to talk about the best motor for a mini bike, okay? And let's go back just a little bit of history on the mini bikes and the motors that were used and what they're using nowadays, okay? Because you can see the evolution of it, and that can make a big difference. So when mini bikes first came out in the 50s and into the 60s, most of the time the motor that they used was a little Clinton engine. It was called a Clinton. I know they don't make them anymore. You can find them at places. I'm looking for one myself, actually. They're about 2.5 horsepower or so. And the Clinton motor was really small, it was compact, and most mini bikes were in their induction when they first came out. They were small. They weren't big. The reason mini bikes were actually made were guys at the cars, at the pits, the race cars, they built the little mini bike to get around in the pits. That's how mini bikes started. It was just for a little pit bike to get around in instead of walking or riding a bike. So at that time, they used the Clinton motor. Well, as things developed and mini bikes started to become what I'd say more mainstream, but you know, a couple of the people making them, whether it was Rough or Little Indian, they started changing things around a little bit. And the next motor that they went to, for the most part, was Briggs and Stratton. And Briggs and Stratton were used for quite a while. Now, what Ray told me from Little Indian was that they used the Briggs and Stratton for quite a while, but then Briggs and Stratton all of a sudden pulled the order on them. They ran a test or something on it, and they thought there was too much vibration, and the only thing I can think of was they didn't want a liability. So they said, look, we're not selling motors for mini bikes anymore. And so then they went over to Tecumseh Motors. Now the Tecumseh is now out of business, for the most part. I know you got Tecumseh engines on snow blowers and things like that. I'm not sure how or where they're coming from. Tecumseh was right up the road from me, about a half an hour. And the whole plant was in. They used to sell in like 120 different countries or something like that. They were all over. Tecumseh was huge, and Tecumseh, the plant actually started as refrigeration motors, but they made the Tecumseh for mini bikes, and I had a 4 horsepower on my first mini bike. So nowadays, most of the motors, actually everything is made, except for the Briggs and Stratton now, is made overseas. They're Chinese or Taiwanese or something like that. And so the motor that most people are picking up now are from Harbor Freight. So this motor here is the 79cc. It's got overhead valves on here. And this here is a smaller. It's not the 212. A lot of people are getting the 212, and I'll explain a little bit of the difference besides size, okay? And when you're looking for a motor, also, don't just pick a motor because somebody says it's a great motor or whatever. Look up yourself. Try to look your what the weight is, what the size, especially height and width. That becomes very, very important, especially if it's a mini bike build that you're doing. And I'll explain that here in a second. So taking a look at this will give you everything, all the information you need to make that decision. Now, the reason that I like this one that I'm going with is 79cc instead of the 212 Predator. And this one right now is going for $139, and I believe the 212 at Harbor Freight is going for $149. So you say to yourself, well, geez, there's only $10 more. Why don't I get that one? Well, one of the reasons why, and the most important to me, depending on what I'm doing, would be the fit, okay? And I'm going to show you on our other mini bikes, but the problem I always have with the 212, which is a 6.5 horsepower, it's a very, very good motor, but the issue, it sticks out on both sides really, really far. And you don't want that, okay? Or at least that's not what I would want. If I'm building a bike, a custom bike just for drag racing, down the street, then that's okay because you really don't care. It's all about the horsepower that you got. But if I got one I'm going to be tooling around neighborhoods or maybe out in the woods or anything like that, I want something that fits comfortable. And so this 79cc in this one that we're doing right now gives that comfort fit. By the time I get my clutch and everything on, it's coming out about over to here. And you can't see the other side. I'll see if I can get it. But let me see where it would about come out to here and get that lined up. but my pegs are going to come out here, so I'm going to be okay with this. All right, so that's what I'm looking at. Now, and especially because the next frame we're building will be a little smaller. Now, this frame that I built would easily fit the 212. It'd come up to about here, you'd be able to get the gas cap off and everything. So they're reliable engines, they're inexpensive, you can get the warranty on them, and as long as you change oil and do proper maintenance on them, as far as I know, they're very good motors that'll last a really long time, okay? So now what I want to do, though, we're going to go back a little bit in time. I'm going to show you two other motors, one recent and one way back. So let's check this out. Okay, friends, so I'm going to go back slightly in time because I was in the 70s when I was into mini bikes big time like everybody else. At that time, usually went into dirt bikes or something, or cars, whatever, and I went into dirt bikes, motocross, and then faded away until, for the kids, I got this mini bike right here back in, let's just say 08, something like that it was. And I had lost track of all what mini bikes were about. I didn't know that Tecumseh was no longer around and all these kind of things. So this was the Motovox that I picked up for Christmas. And the frame and everything on this bike is great. It's rigid, there's no suspension on it, which is fine. This is just a ride around the neighborhood. Although we do take it off-road. It's just that when you take it off-road, it's got to be on a lot of flat surface. This here is a 72cc motor, and it's kind of a dog, we'll admit that. It doesn't do a lot, but I will say this to you. We've had this bike for all those years, let's just say 2008, and I've had no issues with this bike other than we got so much sand, got through the air filter into the carb one time riding that we ended up having to get a new carb. I still have it there. I'm going to pull it apart, show you guys what a carb looks like and how to clean it up. But on these here, the needles are so small that sometimes you just can't clean them. And I think I paid $12 for another carb. But I like to keep things around, take them apart and see how they work or what they're made of. Now, so this here bike, let's say it was 2008, it's dependable. It's very, very thick. It's a great built bike, but the clutches that came with these they didn't work good. And meaning you always had to oil them, and people just wanted to get it and ride, so they took it back to the shop and or back to the J.C. Penney, Sears, wherever they got it. And they were supposed to call the dealer, they didn't. So of course, Penney's or Sears is shipping these back, and eventually the place goes out of business. But so that right there is about a 2008. Right here is my 1970. This was the first mini bike I had. This isn't it, but it is a Ramjet. And on here, I've got a Tecumseh 4 horsepower motor. And so this is actually from 1970. I had a guy take a look at it for me because the plate is gone. That had all the specs on there, but he knows his motors because he's been in the business 50 years. And so this here is a 1970 4 horsepower Tecumseh motor. Now, there's not a lot of difference, meaning that when you get your horsepower, it's just the materials are lighter. On here, a lot of the material is lighter. Of course, it's cheaper. And on here, you're going to find that everything is more heavy steel and metal. But the one thing I want you to, this is what I like about a mini bike, or what I would pick a motor for, is if you take a look at these two mini bikes, you can see that the motors fit nicely in there, just like it would if it was a motorcycle. When you're out riding, you want to be comfortable turning and so on and so forth. Well, the only way to do that, again, is it's got to be a comfort fit. So I get on here, everything fits right. If you stick a big old 212 Predator motor on there, you got trying to get them out here, or they're so far out you barely got a heel on it or something, okay? So the foot pegs and everything would really need to be comfortable for you. And if you've got one of these big fat motors that sticks out all over, it's just not that way. Now again, that's my pet peeve about that, just because I've always been used to riding a bike where the motor fit. Whether it was a mini bike or a dirt bike or a street motorcycle, whatever it is, that's what I like. It's got to be comfortable so I can maneuver and get around. So the best motor for you, again, the best motor for you is what's going to work for you. If I'm making this into nothing but a street rod, meaning like, I'm going to race other mini bikes, I want this thing to go 70 miles an hour, then I don't care, because I'm not turning into corners and having fun and going around trail riding or anything, okay? I don't care. I'm just going to go in a straight line. But if I want to have fun on a mini bike and ride around and see my friends or my kids, I want something that's comfortable. I want it to be reliable as well as that comfortable. So on our project that we're doing right now, that's where I'm sticking the 79cc. It'll fit on there really, really good. And that'll make it fun to ride the mini bike. So hopefully that helps you out a lot. And again, the two most popular motors that you can get are the 212 and the 79cc. And the 212 has a lot of hop-up kits. There's a stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. That's why people get them. But this is all about mini bikes, and that's the name of this. And so we talk all about mini bikes because there's a wide variety of what people like or don't like. So my opinion on this is my opinion from the way I like to ride and trying to help someone else who just wants to ride around and not go really, really fast. So, well, friends, I hope I've helped you here in some way to determine what kind of motor you want to get for your mini bike, or if you're buying a brand new mini bike, thinking about that motor. Okay, so if you're doing a custom build, you really need to look at it and think of it as the way that I termed it, because you do want it to be comfortable for you. If you're just looking for straight speed, again, get the biggest one you can get and go for it. But if you're looking for comfort for riding, then you're going to want to take a look and really make sure you get the right fit. As for mini bikes, they come with all kinds of different sizes, but you will notice if you look at a Coleman or any of those mini bikes that's a prepackaged, so I call it, you get it already there together, you will notice those motors fit in there just nice, and it's a comfortable ride. There's nothing bulky or out of the way, and that's what you're looking for. So in the end, the best mini bike motor for you is the one that fits your needs, okay? So thanks for watching, and hope to see you on the Mini Bike Trails.